Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Digitally Overwhelmed podcast. I'm really excited that you're here. And today we're going to be talking about SGE or Search Generative Experience and SEO and how we're in the middle of this incredible transition, if you will, or just, yeah, a lot of things are changing in the SEO landscape, and I'm here to talk about it. So we're going to dive in. So maybe you've noticed that now when you type in a question in Google, what comes up immediately is the section that says AI overviews, right? And so you'll see there that sometimes your question is answered right away in like a bullet form, depending on what the question is. And so what can start happening and what we're seeing happen is that a lot of people are just reading that and then they're not really clicking down or they're not going anywhere else and their answer is immediately answered. And so I'm getting asked a lot is like, well, is SEO still relevant for my business? Because if someone's not clicking through to my website, how are they going to get to know my services? Like, what does this mean for SEO? And my immediate answer is yes, SEO is still relevant. We still want to do classic or traditional SEO, but things are changing. And so some of the focus of the strategy is a little bit different. And this is something that has been going on, for a long time with SEO. It's always changing. But this with AI, it is a pretty big shift. And we're just keeping an eye on how AI is also changing how people search. Okay, so I was asked last week by a friend of mine, like, should I still be doing SEO, right? Because I want to show up in the AI area and I want to show up in AI tools. And a lot of people are using AI. And again, my answer is yes, you still want to do traditional SEO because a lot of these all the AI tools depend on Google and they depend on the data that Google has been collecting for years and years and years to pull that information into AI. And then Google itself is still Google. It still has its algorithm. It is using AI and the AI overviews at the top, but they still have parts of the algorithm that's working. So you still definitely want to do traditional SEO, and you might want to start thinking about doing AIO. And this is part of the search generative experience, SGE, which is that part at the top. Now, you're hearing a lot of acronyms here like AI optimization, AIO, SGE. I know a lot of people talk about GEO, generative engine optimization. At this point, they're all pretty much the same. There's not too much of a difference, so don't get fooled by that or don't get tripped up by that. We definitely can see in the SEO landscape that people are using AI, just the actual AI, pure AI like Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, to ask questions and to get help in their day-to-day life. I was also at a party. Funny story. I was going to a party on Saturday and I got totally lost. And I actually was just, I've forgotten how to use a map, right? Because I'm just so used to using my phone. But anyway, when I got to the party, I was, hanging out with a friend of mine who it was her birthday, and there were a mix of different, professionals in the room. There were teachers because my friend is a teacher. There were also entrepreneurs. There was one woman who sells products, and there was a therapist, and all of them, most of them, I would say 90% of them use AI. And I was really interested to hear how like the teacher was using AI for her lesson plans versus the therapist who was using it to like maybe break down something she had to explain to a patient or something. And that just really is so exciting. And I am really I feel like I believe that AI is this incredible tool that is changing the way the world works. And I really believe there's so much opportunity in AI, and it can be scary, and there are things that are not great about it as well. But I believe at the end of the day, it's going to do so many good things. So anyway, going back to AI overviews is people are using AI to find your business and to find your services. So how do we, improve our SEO strategies so that we're showing up at the top, right? And we're showing up there. but we're also doing other things so that we're not getting skipped as much, right? Because it's that 0 clicks right now. It's called the 0 click kind of era of like that first part. People aren't really clicking, right? They're just reading and then leaving, right? So this AI overview section is, oh, and sorry. So I'm going to be covering what this means and a little bit what happens in terms of the difference. And then at the end, I am going to give you a few steps and things to start working on if that works for you, if you're wanting to kind of make changes. Okay, so right, the generative results, which is this SGE section, is totally different than what we had before with the featured snippets or even the classical, search result layout, is that it is using AI and it's pulling from different sources and then answering your question, right? And sometimes it answers it with multiple sources depending on what it is. And it might, on the right side, it will actually tell you where it got it from. And then sometimes it will also cite the source like as a little link. So I think that's really interesting because if you are getting pulled there and it is the type of question that someone might want to get a little more information, it could be an opportunity, right? So this is completely different than what we've seen before. And the types of searches that trigger this type of AI overview are questions that Google feels that there's like an immediate answer that someone could potentially get right in an AI overview. I would say most of the searches are coming up with AI overviews at the top, but the informational searches. So when I say information, it's like someone who's getting more information around what you do. So for example, if you are a therapist who helps people with their anxiety, it could be questions about anxiety. So like, what triggers my anxiety or anxiety in public spaces, right? So those are informational searches versus someone who's looking for anxiety therapy near me, for example, or therapist who specializes in anxiety. So that's a more transactional keyword where the person's like looking for what you have to offer. So traditionally or previously, the strategy was doing a little bit of both. And so now with this AI overviews, I would say we do want to look really closely at the informational searches to make sure that they're doing something for us and make sure we also have those transactional searches as well. So again, the types of searches are very much informational searches. And we want to think about maybe, is this a question that can be answered immediately, or is this something that requires like follow-up? So for example, I have a friend who is a travel influencer and she writes a lot about Argentina travel. And for those of you who don't know, I live in Argentina. So I was kind of searching for some stuff to recommend to someone. And I realized, and I saw her in the search results and I got so excited. So I sent her a message. And I realized that for travel, people are they're going to want some follow-up, because if you're going to spend money to travel far, far away, you're not just going to rely on one AI overview, right? Unless it's like a very specific question, like, is this place open on this day or something like that. But so there's some questions we want to think about with our audience. Okay, are they doing that follow-up check? Are they going deeper versus like, what is I was doing baking with my daughter the other day and I was wondering, how can I replace, I didn't have like an ingredient. And so I was looking for a replacement and the AI overview gave it to me and I didn't really do much follow-up. It just answered the question. That was it. So those are the kind of things we need to think through. For our clients, we do that for them, but we also analyze the data to see what is the content that is really producing not just visits, but opt-in sales. We look through that whole experience, because right now there is a huge drop in organic click-through rates. So I just pulled this stat last week. There's a 61% drop in organic click-through rate when AI overviews appear on the search results. So that's huge. That's like a really big. So all that means is that it's 61% less likely that someone is going to, or not less likely, there's a drop in how many people are like clicking through when there's an AI overview on that page. And I don't want to be negative and saying like this is going to just break. Like it's not, I don't really believe it's breaking anything. I just think we need to adapt as online businesses. And again, I feel like AI is this huge this opportunity for so many small businesses to do things faster, better. In my own business, we're using AI a lot in the background to automate things, to make things run smoother. And that's amazing. It's a good thing. Okay, so here are a few like classical SEO things that are losing their edge and that I would recommend maybe stepping away from. So the first one is focusing, like I said, just on informational keywords that are high volume. So yes, when we choose our keywords in SEO, we look at volume, and all volume means is how many times is that search being searched for? Is that keyword being searched for on a monthly basis? So we like to look for keywords that are getting traffic so that we can, have that traffic funnel into our websites and our businesses. So now we're not just we've never just looked at volume, to be honest, because there's so many factors, but volume actually, like a really popular informational keyword might not be a really good thing to work on because again, do we know if people are clicking through? And it might be so competitive that the chances of us getting on the first page of Google aren't really going to happen, right? So that is one thing to kind of think about and to maybe step away from. Again, answering content with thin content that AI can summarize in 2 sentences. So this is what I was going back before of like thinking through and thinking, okay, is this something that can be answered quickly? And again, you might want to show up in some of these searches as well, but the thing, you don't want to put all your keyword eggs in one basket, right? So how can you diversify so it's not just that AI summarizing everything, but you have other type of content that's transactional and like deeper and stuff like that? Focusing on just getting on position one, for our clients, we do let them know, okay, you're in page one for this keyword, but we look at so many other metrics. And again, sometimes, especially now, like that position one might not be the things that is getting you the sales. Now, it might give you some authority, it might send other good signals, but we need to diversify and we need to also be clear, okay, this is actually the content that is growing my email list. This is the content that's generating sales and opportunities for me. And so I just believe that we need to shift and we need to adapt, like I was saying. Okay, so here are a few things that you want to start doing. So the first thing is you want to be really known as the go-to expert in your niche more than ever. So niching down into specific area. And if this makes you nervous, I hear you, right? But my biggest thing, and I tell this to all my clients as students, if you're trying to market to everyone, you're kind of marketing to no one, right, at the same time. So we really want to look at, what is that specific audience? And you can have multiple audiences, right? But you need to be specific in the problem, what you're helping with, what are you, providing them, and what is their specific problem? Like, what are the things they are searching? And that's going to help you be seen as an authority, and to continue to, I guess, create a SEO strategy that's much more specific. Original research and data. And I know this is one's hard, but AI can't generate data or stats that don't exist. And so proprietary stats and stuff like that can be really powerful to get cited. So if you can go back to your own business, your own clients, and see if you can build some stats, run some surveys, see what your clients experience. Again, this takes money and time, and not all of us have the resources. Like, I don't feel confident in my own business to maybe pull SEO stats because, yeah, I would have to go out and like, survey a lot of people. But I guess I could run some specific stats around my audience, my business. So it depends on what your time is, but this is a way to like separate yourself from the crowd for sure. The next one that I've talked about on and on is EAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So creating content that is really backed up by real human experience is going to be a big difference. So there's I've got a few different episodes on EAT, but at the end of the day, you want to show your visitors and AI tools that, hey, you have you have this experience, right? You have this expertise, especially if you're selling a service that really impacts people's lives. So this could look like on your website, this could look like testimonials, reviews, before and after shots if you have some sort of product where someone is putting putting it on their body. Anything that shows like real life experience. And then off-site, you want to get in interviews, you want to be featured places, you want to get awards. Like all this is different ways to build credibility and trust that is just differentiating you, right? So this is more important now than ever. And I would say we have several clients that have kind of created amazing content. And now the thing that's like triggering the next stage of growth is getting featured and being seen as an authority in your space. I already mentioned this. So, bottom of the funnel keywords, so transactional comparison keywords will still drive clicks, right? Because if someone's asking for, like I said before, a therapist who specializes in anxiety, they're not going to just stay in the AI overviews. They're going to click through and look for someone, right? So that's a big one. And then kind of going back to the basics, like technical SEO, looking at things like site structure, speed, how it's being crawled can really help just continue to keep your site in a healthy place. And AI does also look at that. Like it does look, an AI assistant will look at, the overall credibility of a website. And it won't pull from sites that just look like they're falling apart. Um, and at the end of the day, obviously, brand searches as well. So anybody searching for your business or your name, if you use your name in your business, this one is a big one you don't want to miss out on. So there is a huge opportunity here to get found in AI and in SEO and both places. You do want to start looking at like how do you want to structure your content so that AI pulls from it. So I teach this in my Found in AI course where we talk about, okay, how do we structure content? How do we create clear headings, respond to specific answers, specific questions with specific answers, using schema markup, which is another type of technical SEO element. Schema markup is code that we can put on the back end of our websites that help AI and Google understand what our businesses and what our websites are about. And this can be something that feels a little bit overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be, and it's not difficult at all. So definitely think about that, right? And you can even ask AI to help you build schema and put it on your website. All right, so some action steps. So this is your little like episode to-do list, if you will. And I'm thinking about doing more of these at the end of the day. So the first one is maybe look at your search console. And if you don't know what the search console is, that's totally fine. I actually have a free lesson that teaches you how to use the search console, and I'll drop it in the show notes. But the search console is a tool that Google gives us to understand our SEO and our SEO results. So you can actually audit and see which pages on your website are losing clicks to AI overviews. So the search console lets you compare. So you can compare clicks, and then you could filter so it's only showing you the keywords and the content that are losing clicks. And this might take a little bit of time, but you can analyze, okay, which blogs are like losing a lot of clicks, even though I'm on page 1. Start to identify those bottom of the funnel keywords. So your transactional keywords, any sort of direct service-based keywords, people asking for your services or your products or if you have courses and online things, those are really going to help you, balance things out. And then you want to maybe pick one piece of content that has been doing well on your blog or your website, and then see if you can upgrade it with original data or a different point of view. Sometimes we get so focused on creating more and more content, and we forget that we can actually go back to our site and improve something for it to do better, right? And it's like a different way of thinking. So these are just a few little, like, again, things to think about. Auditing, like I said, auditing for lost clicks, identifying your bottom of the funnel keywords, and then choosing one pillar piece that's done well and you want to update it with maybe even a testimonial. All right, so I just want you to know that your work is so important. We need you. Like, we need your human brain. We need your passion. Your just ability to help your clients is like no one else out there. And so understanding how the SEO landscape is changing is going to help you find more of these clients that you want to help. And it doesn't need to be difficult. It really is just a step-by-step process that I see my clients go through, and we help them with that. And if you're interested in learning more and learning a more specific methodology for getting found in AI, you can check out my Found in AI course. It's a AI visibility course. You can go to courses.digitalbloomiq.com/found dash in dash AI. I'll put it in the show notes as well. And this is just my go-to AI visibility course, and I teach all the basics of everything from looking for what your clients are looking, searching for, the keywords, as well as how to create content that AI loves. So that's it, my friends. I'm curious if you have any questions about AI. You can always email me, Cynthia@digitalbloomiq.com, or I do hang out on Instagram periodically, digitalbloomiq, and I check my DMs. And I'm just curious how you're doing with all this AI stuff and AI visibility. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.